The Bible's filled with so many amazing stories. Well, this is one of them. So the story goes, there's a man named Jacob, and Jacob has many children, but out of all his children, his favorite is his son, Joseph. Now, the fact that Joseph is Jacob's favorite son doesn't make his brothers like him too much. In fact, they didn't like him for a few reasons. One of the reasons, his dreams. Like one day, he came to them and was like, guys, I had a dream. And they're like, here we go again. What was your dream? He's like, guys, my dream was we're out in the field, and then we had wheat, and then with the wheat, and then like your wheat bowed down to mine. And they're like, are you saying that we're going to be bowing down to you, little brother? It's like, I don't know, it's just a dream. Another dream that he had was, he came up to his brothers and he was like, guys, I had another dream. And they're like, what was the dream this time? And he said, okay, the sun and the moon and 11 stars bow down to me. And they were like, what are you trying to say with the dreams? I was like, I don't know, they're my dreams. And they didn't like him for that. Another thing that they didn't like him for was because he got the gifts. Like one day his father came and was like, Joseph, I have something for you. And he says, guys, Dad has a gift for me. And the dad brought out a jacket, and it was a robe with many colors, and we know Joseph's many-colored coat. And another reason why they didn't like him was Joseph was what you'd call an informant. For example, if the brothers were supposed to be cleaning and Joseph saw them, he'd be like, oh, guys. It's like, Joseph, don't do it. Dad told you guys to clean, guys. Like, Joseph, don't do it. Guys, you're not cleaning, and Dad said you should clean. And Joseph would go and tell the dad. So his brothers didn't like him very much. But one day, his father, Jacob, is like, Joseph, I need you to go and look for your brothers. They should be in Shechem. I told them to be watching the sheep there, so that's probably where you'll find them. So go there. And the good daddy's boy, Joseph he went. And when he got there was someone who said, I saw them, but they left. I think they went to Dothan. And Joseph was like, and he went to Dothan. And as he approached, the brother saw him and, guys, it's the dreamer. Here he comes. What is he going to do? He's going to tell on us. And the brothers did not want to see him. And as Joseph approached, one of the brothers was like, we should kill him. And then they were like, But then their oldest, Reuben, was like, no, let's not kill him. Let's throw him into this pit, guys, because Reuben didn't want to kill Joseph. So they're like, okay, go. And as he came, Joseph was like, guys, Dad said that you're supposed to be in Shechem, but you're in Dothan. And they grabbed him and they threw him into the pit, and he fell. And guys, it's not a joke anymore. And there was silence. And after a while, Judah sees some merchants coming, and he's like, why don't we sell him? I mean, we get rid of him and we make money. So they get Joseph out and they take him and they sell him, and he's taken to Egypt. Now, while in Egypt, he is blessed beyond measure. measure because he works for a man named Pharaoh, and everything he touches, the Bible says, is blessed. And soon he is in charge of everything that Potiphar rather owns. And Potiphar's wife takes a liking to Joseph, and she seeks for him, but he runs away, and instead of being rewarded for doing the right thing, he's thrown in jail. And now in jail, you'd think he would be sad and miserable and angry, but he continues praising God, and God blesses everything that he does until he's in charge of the prison. Now, one day there's a baker and a vine presser for the Pharaoh, and they have bad dreams, and they go to Joseph and they're like, oh, we had some horrible dreams last night. And Joseph's like, oh, you could tell me about the dreams. I dream a lot too. And the cupbearer, he goes and he says, well, I dreamt that a vine with 3 branches. The vine blossomed, and oh, there were grapes, and I squeezed them, and I served them to Pharaoh. And Joseph is like, oh, that's a nice dream. That means in 3 days, you'll be released, and you'll be working for the Pharaoh. And the cupbearer, hearing this, he was like, well, I also had a dream. And there were 3 baskets. Remember 3, like the 3 vines? There were 3 baskets, and they were on my head, and there was bread, and the birds came and ate it. And there were 3. So in 3 days I will be. And Joseph is like, pardon? Unfortunately, in 3 days you're And just like Joseph had said, and just like God had told Joseph to say, rather, the dreams came true. And as the cupbearer was leaving, Joseph said, oh, don't forget me, please. And the cupbearer said, oh, of course I'll not. You let me know what my dream was. I'll never forget you. I'll tell the Pharaoh. Yeah. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream, and the cupbearer was like, oh, snap, Joseph. And he went to the Pharaoh, and he was like, Your Highness, so 2 years ago there was a boy named Joseph who helped interpret my dreams. Perhaps he could help with yours. The Pharaoh said, well, bring him here. And Joseph came, and he's like, hello, Mr. Pharaoh. Hello, cupbearer. And the Pharaoh said, I've had a dream, and I heard you interpret dreams. And Joseph is like, no, I don't interpret dreams. And the cupbearer is like, hey, Joseph, man, now's not a good time to get revenge. Okay, I told him that you could interpret dreams. Like, but I don't interpret dreams. God tells me the dreams. He's the one that interprets the dream. So you could tell me, Mr. Pharaoh, what the dream is, and God is going to help me tell you what your dream means. The Pharaoh says, okay. Well, I was sleeping, and I dreamt that there were 7 ears of corn, and they were juicy, and they were nice. And I was like, But then there were 7 skinny, sickly corns that ate the fat ones. I was like, ooh. And the Pharaoh says, okay, then there was 7 fat, juicy cows. I mean, they were nice. He's like, uh-huh. And out of the river came skinny cows, and they ate the fat cows, but stayed skinny. And Joseph says, well, okay. Well, God says the 7 fat corn and 7 fat cows are for 7 years of plenty. And after that, there's going to be 7 years of famine. And it's going to be pretty bad. The Pharaoh says, what do I do? And Joseph says, well, you can get someone to be in charge of the land so that after the 7 years of good times, there might still be hope. And the Pharaoh says, you know what? You're right. You, Joseph, are going to be that person. Me? Yeah, you're gonna be that person. I want you to be number 2 so that after the 7 years of plenty, in the 7 years of famine, we could still be surviving. And just like that, Joseph became number 2 in all of Egypt. Second only to the Pharaoh. Now, what's amazing about this story, besides all the things that happened, is how everything needed to happen for God's plan for Joseph to happen. For example, if Joseph hadn't been thrown into the pit, he would not have been sold as a slave. And if he was not sold as a slave, he would not have been sold to Potiphar. And if he had not been sold to Potiphar, Potiphar's wife wouldn't have wrongfully accused him. And if he had not been wrongfully accused, he would not have been thrown in prison. And if he had not been thrown in prison, he wouldn't have met the cupbearer. And if he hadn't met the cupbearer, he wouldn't have interpreted his dreams. And if he hadn't interpreted the dreams, he would not have been second in command. And what's even crazier is the cupbearer forgetting was a blessing in disguise. Because if the cupbearer had remembered right away and told the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh would have been like, okay, he's wrongfully accused, release him, send him back home, perhaps. And he would not have been second in command. So even those 2 years that he spent in prison extra were to fulfill God's plan. So sometimes we might feel like things are just going wrong and things might not just be working out for us, but God says, I know the plans that I have for you. And these are plans for good. Amazing story, huh? For story time, this is Tabs. Well, hello there. I've been expecting you. Now just go ahead and hit that button. That one too.